everyone. My name is Amaka. I am the editor-in-chief of Áfrostyle magazine, and this is a new venture called Let's Talk, the Áfrostyle podcast. And with me is my regular co-host, Camelia. And we'll be talking about different topics of interest. And today is more of a get to know you or get to know us. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my co-host, Camelia. Hi, Camelia.
Hey, Martha, what's up?
What's it?
Oh, you're done. I'm just so excited to be on here. Obviously, I don't have direct experience with the Afro-American experience, but I'm so glad to be on here to share something about like the cultural expression or cultural experience from my vantage point, and to be able to contribute to such an amazing magazine. Are you kidding me? Thank you. Actually, and that's what the whole idea is. Áfrostyle is about basically being able to explore the different experiences from different cultural backgrounds outside of Africa. So I'm multicultural, and I know you are too. So we get to like feed up of each other in terms of thoughts, ideas, what we love, what we don't love, and in turn come to there'll be moments where we'll agree to disagree, and then the moments when we will be on the same page. And that's the fun of it.
I honestly look forward to the disagreement. I feel like they're spicier.
Oh, Lord.
But first question, just out of curiosity, are you first generation American, or did you move from your native country?
I moved.
So I moved from Nigeria. I was actually born in London, Wimbledon, England.
Shut up with the tennis and stuff.
Yeah. I didn't learn the tennis part. You know, I would have been like another, big star. But grew up there slightly, and then moved to Nigeria. I went to high school, the elementary school, high school. We were traveling back and forth between England and here. And then when I was done with high school, I had the option to move back to England or come out here on 96 and just go into junior college and then proceed. For England, from what I remember, you had to do what we call O-levels, A-levels, with like some kind of exams. And I was like done with all the classes already. And saying, I was like, I'm not doing all that.
Wait, did you default to America just because you didn't want to pass?
Yes, I did. I am not kidding. Like, I'm not doing no more reading. I'm done. I'm going to, I'm definitive.
But think though, you would have had a really hot English accent. Probably if you had chosen that path.
That's true. The funny thing is, I think I did, but growing up in Nigeria, you pick up on the accent. But the funny thing is, when I was in Nigeria, they would say I don't have a Nigerian accent.
Really?
Yeah, I don't have. But when people people speak to me here, they know that, okay, sometimes there's some words I would say they can pick up on. It's English. But when I try to speak what we call pidgin English in Nigeria, they're like, nah, you need to stop.
You know what's wild? Okay, so between what ages did you live in Nigeria? Like, because that's your formative. I feel like that's like your formative years when you were there.
Yeah, and I think from when I was like from 3 to when I was 16.
Oh, huge.
So, but it's just whenever I would speak in Nigeria, they were like, you don't have the Nigerian accent, so you need to stop. So when there's this pidgin English, it's called broken English.
Of course, yeah.
And when I try to speak, they will let, I do.
But you're legit fluent. Like, there's no question.
I would understand, right? Maybe there's some words now I may not understand because I've moved in there, but I would understand what they're saying. Like, I can speak 70% or 80% my Igbo language, but I understand 90% of it.
I think that's just so interesting because you did spend most of your formative years in Nigeria, and yet they're picking up on an accent. And I always wonder, what is the accent you're picking up on, right? Because, like, for example, one time I studied abroad. I was in England, and they're like, wow, your accent's so exotic. And I was like, is it exotic? Yes. And that's all I'm saying. But it's not. So one of those things where it's like,
yeah, you don't haven't really heard a lot of accents out, but for them, it sounds really exotic because it's not what they're used to. You may listen to someone from England, the words are kind of broken a little bit, and so I can pick up on it and say, oh yeah, this person was from England, right? Yeah. But here, you don't have that. Words are like this, I think, are really pronounced here. I could be wrong, but I think words here are really pronounced.
Yeah.
So when I say I'm going to the, to the fridge, that's something that you may say in England, but here they may say to the refrigerator. That kind of thing. It's very different.
Yeah.
And so when I would speak, they would tell me, you don't sound from here. You don't sound. And then the people here tell me, you sound like you're from the Caribbean. I'm like, so it's like, whatever you guys make of it, that's fine.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, pretty much I just picked up you traveled you went to school in England, in London, just for a little bit.
Oh, I came back with an accent. What do you mean? But my questions ended like this. It's like the intonation was totally different.
What would you say your experience, what was being in London compared to here?
My first reaction was, oh my God, people are so much nicer to people traveling in like England and Europe. Like, they're like, you need directions to here, let me draw you a map. In America, we are assholes. Pardon my French.
Yeah.
We are assholes. We're like, you need to know where the beach is? Baby, like, use your phone. Like out there though, people are just extremely understanding and generous of traveling. And I think that there's a case of it's not you, it's the culture of the place.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're from a place where people have multicultural, they have a lot of different languages and experiences under their belt, there's no isolation of like, hey, you're not speaking the language right.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're from a place where there isn't much traveling, which is why America is really curious for me, all of a sudden it's like there's this division of like, hey, you're not speaking English right. Hey, you don't have that accent right.
Mm-hmm.
For example, my experience with people from Mexico, Spanish-speaking people, is they're so welcoming.
Yeah.
When I try to speak my Spanglish, which is absolutely horrific, by the way, but I'm actually pretty decent. Like, there's a certain amount of like applicable, like day-to-day Spanish that I've worked with just from working in restaurants a lot. Like, that's been my experience. But there's also that like higher level Spanish academic level that I have, which doesn't really gel, but either way, Spanish speakers generally are extremely accepting. Versus when they say, you go to France and you try to speak French in Paris, and people are like, what have you done yourself? Not to make a huge judgment on the French population, but I'm just saying that certain cultures are more accepted of people, and there are different variations. There are different dialects, more welcoming.
Yeah.
So where are you from? Where are you from?
San Francisco.
Kind of. I claim San Francisco.
And your heritage in terms of your background?
Mother's Filipino, father's Indonesian.
Okay. So you've been to those countries?
I've been to Indonesia, but not the Philippines.
And how was your experience there?
Oh my God, I loved Indonesia. I didn't get to go to the Philippines because there are this weird sewage things with Boracay. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But Indonesia, I've been twice. Once when I was very, very young, and once when I was just fresh out of college before grad school. I was with my dad for 3 weeks. And every time I go out of the country, it's just kind of crazy how much we don't realize how we're trapped in our own cycles, in our own bubbles. In America, it's just very much like, go, 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 go. When I got to Indonesia, it was like, oh, what time is it? I have to be somewhere at whatever. Like, it doesn't follow the schedule as strictly, culturally, to my experience, So going to Indonesia, it was really easy to pick up on the language because there's different levels.
Okay.
So if you think of England, there's like, you've got like the princes and princesses, right? And then you've got the like that kind of Cockney, as more on the fringes. And I studied dialect, so it's to some degree familiar to me. Indonesia's the same. There's high court, like Indonesian, like original, like authentic dialect, but then there's also like, you're new to Indonesia, like you're like just learning. And what's really nice about that language is it's so accessible. There's no male, no female, no past tense or future tense. So I go to the mall the same as I'm going to the mall or I went to the mall. So there's a really nice little patchwork accessible version of Indonesian. And by the time I left after 3 weeks, I was speaking on a child's level.
So how would you say that culture, the Indonesian culture, I'm sure they're different, cultures.
Yeah.
But how did you say that has molded you in terms of knowing who you are, not just as an American, but as an Indonesian Filipino?
Super duper cool question. I love Indonesian culture. And unfortunately,
I don't participate in it as much as I wish I could have because I'm first generation American.
Yeah.
But what's so cool about Indonesia is it is such an old country and it was a trading port. Like you got spices coming through and forth and textiles. But at that time in the old world, there was also ideas. There was also religion. So even though it's one of the largest Muslim countries, the amount of tolerance for other ideas is huge. Like my dad is Muslim, and my mom is hardcore, Catholic Christian, like Roman Catholic Christian. But what I see in my Indonesian culture is a lot of openness for other ideas, for the lack of necessity to get other people on board.
Got it.
And I think what that creates for me is a very open mindset, I would hope. Like to not feel like my way needs to be the right way. I don't need to win. It's not a competition. As long as you're not hurting me and I'm not hurting you, we're cool. Other than that, you are hurting people. I don't really care what group you're a part of. You're an asshole. Yeah. Well, great question. Yeah. But I think that's the same thing in terms of how my culture has molded me in terms of growing up in that setting and being able to see what works for me as an African, as a Nigerian, taking certain cultures, certain things about my culture that has molded me to be the person that I am. Yeah. There's just certain things that even now where I am, being here in America, there's some things that I just don't get. And then when I look back, when I think of my culture, not in terms of comparing, I'm glad that I was able to have grow up in that environment because when I think about how it is now in terms of, I don't know how it's changed back then compared to now, but being able to take any semblance of my culture and use that as I deal with my everyday life and deal with people is a beautiful thing. And so I think the reason why I asked that is because being able to take from your culture and use that to mold yourself as a human being, not just as an Asian, or Filipino Indonesian, but as a human being and in your interactions with others makes a big difference. And I think that's why I'm multicultural. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It does help because it's like, this is what we do. Then be able to compare that to other and see how we can come to some kind of background. Well, what I love so much about food is it's an undeniable factor. I like broadband and notions, whatever. I just constantly. But the thing is, diversity is such a beautiful thing, and it just supports this philosophy of like collaboration, not competition. Like that's just something I would truly, truly believe in. Whereas if you're in competition, you're like, oh, mine is better than yours. But when it comes to food, if you eat a good plate of food, it doesn't matter where it came from, and it's sometimes the beginning of openness. Yeah. It's such a shame that xenophobia even exists, where people start closing their doors, closing their eyes to being able to appreciate things in other cultures, because we're in a time and age where you can hop on a plane and you can go to the other side of the world. You can go anywhere, right? Yeah. You couldn't do that 100, 200 years ago. And that makes sense to be xenophobic because you're never leaving, right? Yeah. So there's that code. Yeah, but don't like people to be afraid of people. I get it too. I get it. People are afraid of people because there's people out there that are really hard to understand, people that are actually really scary. But to generalize that into a whole culture, like, hey, no, there's assholes in every culture. Yeah, that's true. And there are things in our culture that we agree with and things that we don't agree with. Which, that's a good thing to talk about, actually, that you brought up. And I think we'll address that some other time. But I did want to ask. So for people who want to know, who is Camelia? Who is this? You don't got one already? Yeah. Like, I already know. But people may be wondering, who is this lady we're going to be seeing on this podcast? What do you want people to know about you? When I thought about doing this podcast, I thought, how cool. Because I feel like it's really nice to actually be able to express my perspective. I may not be an Oscar winner or somebody that my alma mater invites me back because I was such a success. Like, I'm not. But I do feel like this world kind of closes me up and makes me not express who I am. So I'm somebody who is going to mess up. I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm probably going to embarrass myself. I'm probably going to like misquote but that's not my strength. My strength is my wiring, and my wiring is just connecting the dots. Mm-hmm. So even though my accuracy might not be up, that doesn't mean I don't have a sense of intelligence or an ability to perceive the world and something valuable to give. Because I think at the end of the day, human connection that's king for me. So I'm somebody who can be clumsy. I can be wrong. I can be outrageous, but I promise my heart's in the right place. And I hope that people see that over time. I definitely would say that you really have your heart in the right place when I know that you don't get into something if you don't believe in it. That's one thing. So I really do appreciate you jumping at the chance of, hey, let's do it. Because I wasn't really sure. Like, yes, I think we're all things. I have other things to think about. And when she said, yeah, I will go ahead and join. The thing is, I'm totally cool with being like sloppy seconds. I'm like, hey, you want me on board? And like I was going to actually put her in like have her like invite her, but I was like, no, the opportunity is here now. So are you gonna? A few times I remember I was saying, I mean, if you don't want to do it, that's okay. She was like, no. Because I was waiting for her to like tell me, yeah, I have other things, but she's been gracious enough to not only jump in, put her spoon on it. She has an amazing background in production. So of course I was like, I'm going to get her in. But there's the fact that she's someone that makes you feel comfortable being who you are without judgment, is what I love.
You know, I've heard that a lot. No, it's like literally if I died tomorrow, that would be like my legacy. Is that, hey, you can talk to Camelia because she will not have to. She may look at you like, huh? But then when she gets your ear to listen, she takes in what she can and then expresses her thoughts. But she does it without judgment, which I love. And this is what's great for the podcast. Compared to her, I'm the serious one. I'm the boring one. I'm the one that, okay, I gotta stop you. I gotta stop you guys. I gotta stop her right now, okay? Because here's the thing. Amaka is genius. If you haven't noticed, the magazine is like insane. It's like insane. It can bring you to tears. Insane. There's a gallery in your hands. So I think that she's extremely humble, and I actually have a couple of questions prepared for us to get to know. Oh, they're not. Okay. All right. So some of these are just weird, and I want you to just play along if you can. Okay. All right, Amaka. What is something you secretly like that maybe no one knows about? What? How much you get there on monsters that nobody knows about? I would say I love weird, but I don't know if it's because of being anemic. I love ice to the point that I just would scrape the ice from the refrigerator. What is it like? Does it have a taste for you? Is it it's the taste? It's the taste. And it has to have a specific taste. It's weird. But it has. I don't do it as much as I used to. But when I get to especially when I open up my refrigerator, the freezer part, and I see ice just waiting I love that. The ice is waiting. It's waiting. And I'm just like, I just can't. I don't do it as much as before. But that is one thing that, when people said, they're like, what the hell are you doing? Guilty pleasure. Yeah, it's like a guilty pleasure. I don't know. It's weird, but that's what you like. All right. Here's another question. Okay. If you won the lottery, what is the first thing you would treat yourself with? I would really, it's weird. I think the first thing I want to do is buy my house. Buy my house, buy my car, save up give money to whoever I need to give money to. Okay, let's back it up though. The house. Mm-hmm. Are we talking some modest bungalow? Are we talking like a mansion? Well, it was like mini mansion. Mini mansion. Yeah, like bedrooms and bathrooms. How are we? Like 4 or 5 bedrooms. Okay, American dream. Yeah, so 4 or 5 bedrooms. I don't know the one that I'll get lost in this. Like you buy it, you gotta clean it. Yeah. So, and I am not trying to pay more than $40 to clean it. I think that's really the main thing. My focus really would be, of course, the American dream. Like, get myself to make sure I have everything squared away in terms of savings. Take care of those that I want to take care of financial. Like, here you go. Don't come back to me, ask me for anything else. For sure. Then anything else is most likely traveling, but those will be the first things I'll focus on before I start to. I think it's like insane. Like California, if you guys are from California, you know this. it's impossible to own land now.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's impossible.
Mhm.
It's so expensive. And then to get into a place that's safe, that you love, like, oh my God.
So that's what that would be the first thing. Yeah, the first 2 things, and then everything. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll maybe travel the world with it.
Hey.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. What was your first job?
First job was working at a retail store. My first main
Was it like
you're like reselling or
no, first job, period. First thing
Retail
somebody
job.
paid you to do.
yeah, retail. I was working for a retail work draft.
How old are you?
I was like 19.
Okay.
20.
Did you learn anything from there?
Yeah, that was when I actually started getting involved in fashion because I really liked fashion. So that was part of the reason why it makes sense to be there. And I did grow, get promoted through the ranks, but after a while, the politics behind it was just not.
Is there any job that is void of politics?
True. But it was just one of those things where it's like, it's time for me to move forward. Like, move on. It's like,
Okay, this one's gonna be hard. Well, no, I bet too. I bet too. Why do this podcast now?
I think it has a seat at the table that I feel like the magazine has created. There are great podcasts, fashion and podcasts out there, I'm sure. But I think the podcast is an extension of the magazine. The magazine is multicultural. It's all about celebrating diversity. First and foremost from the continent of absolutely, and stuff like that. And in so doing, celebrating all the cultures, how to know about all. So it's one thing to like read and see the pictures. It's another thing to like hear and listen to the voices. And so I just thought this would be a good extension to talk about it.
Yeah.
Figure out where we all have a good understanding on the same plate and where we may have our differences, but at the same time, despite the differences, being able to say we can agree to agree to disagree. And in so doing, we're able to, move forward in different aspects of our lives despite our different. And that's the beauty of multicultural.
Yeah. That is, I know I said 2, but let's save it for another day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So with that being said, this is just a tip of the iceberg, if we're even at the tip yet. But this is pretty much what the magazine is about. Thank you so much for joining us. This will be, if you have ideas, topics that you'd like to discuss, feel free to shoot us an email at info@afrostylemag.com and we will get back to you. Until next time, I'd like to say goodbye, God bless. And Camelia, anything you want to add?
Thank you for joining us. See you on the next one.
Yes.